Welcome, friends, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas. We hope this episode is finding you after a great Christmas holiday. Welcome to Limitless Sports with Brennan and Dave. We're back for our second episode. This one is hopefully you're listening to it at first off of Apple Podcasts. It might be on the Facebook page as well. We're going to go through those and try to get those up and running. It takes a little bit to get our first episode up. So, Brennan, how was your Christmas?
Outstanding, Dave. A good Christmas. Got to see my family on Christmas Eve and my wife's family Christmas Day. It was a good holiday.
Good.
Good to be back here with you, though.
Amen. So let's just get right into the content. There's a lot of content this week that we're going to talk about. This is going to be our normal length of a show. We're going to be a little bit longer, and we're going to hit a lot of topics today. We're going to go from the recruiting classes into our bowl predictions. We're going to talk about a couple bowls specifically, and we're also going to hit a couple of NFL preview games that are going to be happening on the 26th, aka today. And I'm even going to go into a little bit of high school topic because I used to love spending my weeks, and I'm going to even spend this week a little bit this week at some of those Christmas tournaments. Some of those basketball Christmas tournaments are a great time. So let's jump right in. Recruiting classes for 2022. So early signing day was on, December 15th, right? And a lot of local schools got some decent talent. But let's go ahead and start with Penn State. So what did you guys end up bringing in?
We ended up finishing number 6 overall as of right now.
Okay.
James Franklin ended up winning the state of Pennsylvania this year, the first time since he's been there.
That's big.
They also got the controversial #1 quarterback in Drew.
Don't get me started on that. So,
out of Ohio.
Medina, Ohio, 5-star quarterback he is.
He's a pro-built quarterback, 6'5", 220.
He's huge.
Franklin will probably put an extra 10, 15 pounds on him when he gets there, be a bigger quarterback like Roethlisberger.
Man, that's a huge pickup for you. I think, not to be a homer a little bit, but I think one of the reasons is that Quinn Ewers was supposed to be 2022 quarterback for Ohio State, #1 overall. So they went after him, let this kid go. And when Quinn reclassified, they came back after Drew hard. And Drew said, no, you didn't recruit me at first. And that happens. Go ahead. What else did you get in the class?
It's the whiteout game, Dave. That's what brought him there.
Really?
And why wouldn't it bring
Is that
him
what?
there?
No, I know there was a player that did say, though, like right after the whiteout game, they said,
A lot of those guys that go to those whiteout games, because that's usually the game they invite him up for.
Dude, it's insane. I
Is
remember
what wins them over.
2016, dude. I was there. We won't talk about that game a lot, but
Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Corso, all those guys on ESPN and even Fox Sports. It's the best atmosphere college football has to offer.
You're not wrong. What other good players? Do you have any more about them? I have a little bit.
We picked up offensive lineman Drew Shelton, 6'5", 275. They said they wanted to be close to 300 pounds.
All right.
Come time for camp. I'm curious, Dave, if they got the tackles to protect the quarterback.
That's huge.
That is why Penn State hasn't won the Big Ten since 2016.
Right.
They could have won it twice since then. The comeback game at the Shoe, they were up by 24 points. JT Barrett came storming back.
You're not wrong.
And they ended up losing 39-38.
You know who else kept storming that game? Me on the field.
A few years later, the same thing happened in Minnesota. They blow the game.
Yep.
If they finished 11-1 that year, Ohio State's 3, Penn State's 4.
Well, you think about this too. It's like with the Big Ten, they have strong defensive lines. I mean, for years, how many Ohio State defensive linemen between Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa? I mean, look at Aiden Hutchinson in Michigan. Even some of the guys from
Carolina Panthers, second-round pick.
Look at what's the guy's name from Purdue? I forget. I mean, like you can name defensive linemen in the Big Ten forever. If you can't block in the Big Ten,
that's how you win the Big Ten. Whoever has the best defensive line wins the Big Ten.
100%. I looked up a little bit about two of the Penn State players. Nicholas Singleton, 4-star running back out of Reading, PA, Governor Mifflin kid, best running back in the state. He's phenomenal.
We haven't had a key running back since 2019, Journey Brown, who had to retire early for medical conditions. Had an outstanding game in the Cotton Bowl against Memphis that year. This is big, Dave. This is really big for them.
100%.
If they're more balanced this year, they're not 7-5.
No,
they're 10-2.
Yep. You know what's crazy? We talked about this before, but Ryan Day came into the state of Pennsylvania last year, poked two kids, Kyle McCord, Marvin Harrison Jr. This year, Franklin got back a day at Ryan Day. So he got the 5-star quarterback out of Drew. And then he also went into Westerville in Columbus's backyard and stole a 4-star receiver between Caden Saunders. So it's a different story where Ryan Day came in and pulled out 2 of the top 5 recruits in the state. Mm-hmm. Davos when he took the other one. So there was 3 out of the top 5 last year, but this year you got 6 out of the top 10.
See, it's hard when your rival plays right next door in the following state.
Right.
And
it's easy to
it's a tri-state area, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio.
100%.
And you're able to drive.
Oh yeah.
2 hours and be in that state and be like, hey, But what I think is going to help Penn State is the defensive coordinator hire Manny Diaz.
Yep.
From the University of Miami, who got let go. With that now, you have another head coach on your staff for the defense. So Franklin doesn't have to worry about that, and he might be able to go down to that Florida, Miami, Tallahassee area and tell those guys, like, hey, I have a place for you to come.
I mean, look what Ohio State does in Texas. I mean, we go down to Texas and poke players all the time. But what's crazy, though? And one day, I think he'll get the number 1 player in the state. He didn't get it this year, though. That kid, Anaya White, he went to Texas A&M. I mean, last couple years, it's hard. I mean, a couple kids have gone to Wisconsin, played tackle, and
James Franklin has had some really good recruiting class there. He was number 4 one year. He was in the top 10 1 or 2 more years. He's a good salesman, but he can't deliver on the field.
You got to win games. Let's stay in state. Let's talk a little bit about Pitt recruiting. Very kind of disappointing class. Coming off their big season, winning the ACC championship game. Kenny Pickett's in the Heisman conversation. I thought that would give him a little bit of story. I mean, there were 3 big names that I found. Decent players. Ryan Baer, who was a 4-star offensive tackle out of Ohio. Decent kid. Samuel Okunola. He's a 4-star defensive lineman from Massachusetts. I've read a little bit about this kid. I think he's going to be the next big defensive lineman coming out of Pitt. I mean, you had a lot of big defensive linemen that I think he can come in.
Aaron Donald.
Right, Aaron Donald. A couple other guys they were playing for the Vikings. But you know what? One kid that I think will steal the show, and I watched a lot of high school football this year, Sean Fitzsimmons. Kid's from Central Valley. He's a 3-star defensive lineman. Central Valley had 2 players. They had Landon Alexander and this kid. And I think a lot of the kids in the WPIAL area don't get the credit they deserve. I mean, name me the last WPIAL kid that did something in the college. Really. And
Lamont Wade. Tyler Boyd.
I was going to say. And they're both from where?
Clareton High School.
I mean, you got Aaron Donald, but...
He went to Peters Township, right?
Aaron? No, it was Pittsburgh Central Catholic.
That's right.
I mean, you got players out there. You got a kid from Gateway, he's down at LSU. Mm-hmm. You got a kid, Donovan McMillan from Peters, who's down in Florida, if he's still staying after the whole controversy there. But...
There was that kid a few years ago, that Nicholson, who went to Michigan State.
Monte Nicholson, yeah, I met him.
Out of Gateway.
I met him when I was. He was in the Army All-American game.
I think Donnie Blitzer coached him
He did.
At Gateway for a few years.
And it's what's just so sad is there are top talent. I mean, you got Mount Lebanon, where my cousin played this year. He was backup linebacker, was a 3-4 string quarterback. Great kid, but they have 3 seniors: their quarterback, their running back, and the receiver, who are great talents.
When you go to those bigger 4, 5, 6A schools, you get lost in the transition. Those scouts don't find you.
But they've been producing since their freshman year. Mm-hmm. I think their receiver, Eli Hendricks, or however you pronounce his name, excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, phenomenal kid. I watched them play in their state quarterfinal game. Phenomenal. He's going to Navy. I mean, that's the biggest place they're getting. Their quarterback, Joey Daniels, I think the reason he's not going anywhere because he's not 6'4". I mean, you look at Devin Whitlock out of Bell Vernon. One of the most electrifying players I've ever seen play in the WPIAL. Not going anywhere. Why? Because he's short. And it's sad. I'd take that kid over any of those kids. Let him play running back. He's electrifying.
But look, and I don't want to compare high school to the NFL because, we're skipping a whole 3 or 4 year process in college. Drew Brees was 5'11" or 6 foot. Russell Wilson's 5'11" or 6 foot.
Not even
Kyler Murray.
It's like 5'10".
Baker Mayfield, another one. I mean, you know what? Those are all successful, established quarterbacks. One of them's retired and going to be a Hall of Famer shortly.
Why does size matter that much? I don't get it. I can understand on the offensive line, but if that kid can fly and that kid's aggressive and he wants the ball and he can score, I mean, I've never seen a player like Devin Whitlock score as much as he has. It's insane. Like, I watched him. He played for Menneson his freshman year. And it's my first year leading the band here in California. He came in as a freshman, and we had a very veteran team that year. He made us look like a fool. He was good.
Bell Vernon stumbled because in the WPL Championship at Heinz Field, the average Aliquippa offensive lineman.
Disgusting.
Dave, can you guess the average weight?
Oh, it's 325.
More than a Pittsburgh Steeler, an NFL lineman.
And you know what was so crazy about that game is you got Quentin Martin, who's got tons of speed. He's got a different gear that I've never seen out of a 6'3" kid. Devin Whitlock, who can fly. Where do they run the ball all game? Up the middle. Why? I get it. You know, Aliquippa's got speed and talent. But you're not getting
Aliquippa the whole first half. You're going to want to throw and open up the defense.
Right.
You know, maybe if you can
try. Change it up a little bit. Run some short routes. Try to take the top off the defense, but they just try to run the ball at the middle. And
I mean, Aliquippa, though, what a machine, huh?
Oh,
they lose one game. That's a down year for them. They lost one game this year, and they won the state championship a few weeks back.
Yeah, Central Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Lost the 3A state champion. That's it. I don't know. We're going to talk more about high school sports in January because the classifications come out on January 15th. And we're going to see a lot about what happened.
They're talking Aliquippa moving to 5A.
I know. Well, I'm more interested. I want to know what I am because we were 2A in softball. When the original number came out, we were looking like we were being 2A. But then this whole aspect of VOTEC students.
You drop down.
We might. I don't know. I know my number right now. I'm not going to reveal it on this show. But I don't know if they're going to change the parameters because a lot of schools are going to start probably fumbling their numbers. We'll see. But
I mean, look where we went to high school. All the boys in the high school, but we were a 2A school in 4A of classes playing Mount Pleasant, losing to them 54-14.
Right.
Playing East Allegheny, losing to them 46-10.
Tell me the first year that the Shawway football since we graduated succeeded. When? Because they switched to 6 classes, and all those bigger schools like
it was 18, right?
17, 18,
17,
around there.
18.
Even 16 a little bit. They started coming out because they changed it. Because they went to 6 classes.
My freshman year, we ended up going. It was like 6-3, or we ended up playing the extra games. Our quarterback got suspended. We ended up going over 500, but we lost games we should have won, which would have put us in the postseason.
Your freshman year, what year was that?
2010? No, 09. It was 09. I graduated in 13.
Was that the year that you guys played Jeanette?
We upset Jeanette on their home turf.
That was your freshman year?
Yeah.
So it must have been when you were in 8th grade then. We played Jeanette at home. I never forget this at the old stadium. And Jordan Hall still played for them. It was the year after Terrell graduated.
Jordan Hall, outstanding athlete.
That was right. That was the first year we jumped into that conference.
There was a year difference between him and Terrell, or was it
1 year difference? Yeah.
1 year difference.
Jordan was a senior. We played down at the old stadium. I think he took the opening kickoff back to the house, and I looked at him on my buddy and said, "Oh, Jesus!" But let's talk a little bit more some recruiting. I want to talk about 2 more teams. Talk about my hometown team, Ohio State. We got 18 recruits.
Low for you guys, very low.
Very low. But if you look at
quality over quantity, though.
Well, but if you look at the amount of players that we have leaving right now, it's not a big class right now. We're a very, very young team. So I'm okay with it, and it's only right now because this whole early signing period is different. And there's a chance before February, I think it's 2nd or 3rd, we can pull some more in. I like 3 players out of this class. C.J. Hicks, he's a number 2 linebacker, 5-star out of Dayton, Ohio. We got a lot of linebacking talent that we desperately need.
Beef up that core a little bit.
Gabe Powers, he just signed.
See, what's funny about you guys is when you guys have a great offense year, your defense is horrid.
Sucks.
But when you guys have an outstanding defensive year,
we can't move the ball. No.
You guys score like 25 points a game.
I know. I'm really excited for our new defensive coordinator. But you know what I want to see? And a lot of these, I don't believe in a kid skipping an entire year of a high school career. But Sonny Styles, he was one of the top 10 recruits in the class of 2023. He decided, I guess early in the season, he talked to Ryan Day and said, I don't want to wait another year. I want to come to Ohio State. You know what's crazy? He reclassified to come out this year, and he was still the number 1 safety. Pickerington, Ohio, 6'3", I think 215. Be interesting to see. They like to change the safety position around and make it like a bullet position, kind of a hybrid between linebacker and safety.
I like how Penn State had Marcus Allen a few years back. He blocked that field goal.
I think he could be a quality player. I think he's got a lot of speed. I watched his, like, when they announced his signing, Ryan Shazier actually was talking about him. I think he could be another Ryan Shazier. But last player I want to talk about was Caleb Burton. He's a receiver from Lakes Travis, 4-star. You know, the same high school he was from? Who went there, do you know?
Garrett Wilson, right?
Garrett Wilson. And there are talks that he's better than Garrett coming out of high school. I saw a picture once on Google. The Lake Travis weight room. Nuts.
We talking like a D1 football
I'm talking
program?
D1 football program weight room. Like, it's insane. The size, like, take a decent high school size gym. So, like, I don't know, even Charlie's gym's kind of big.
Oh, for a high school, yeah, 2A high school.
Imagine with the bleachers all the way back. If it was flat, not even the upper, like if there was no upper level, everything was one level flat. That was the size of it.
That's massive. That is
massive.
I mean, I don't even think I could throw a rock in at the other side of that.
No, it was huge. I mean, you got 10, 12, 15, I want to say, squat racks. I mean, it's nuts. But I'm excited.
Before we transition topics, Dave, I'm gonna read you the top 10 classes.
Okay.
In order from 10 to 1. Oklahoma ended up finishing at 10.
Not bad.
Michigan at 9.
Okay.
North Carolina at 8.
That's a surprise.
Mac Brown getting there. It's
Changed
turned that
it a lot.
program around. You know, they
100%.
went to the Orange Bowl last year and they got beat up pretty bad by an upset Aggies team that missed the playoff.
Yep.
Notre Dame at 7. Not a shocker there.
No.
Penn State at 6. You know, that's normal for them to finish
Right.
in the top 10,
Right around
15. A&M at, not A&M, excuse me. Longhorns at 5.
That's a huge change.
Steve Sarkisian.
He flipped a lot of recruits
He's
late.
getting them on track, ready to play SEC football.
You know what I want to know, though, and I might look this up after we're done today. Do the transfer portal kids count in that number in their ranking? Because they're new players.
That's a good question. You know,
Like
I don't
Quinn
even
Ewers-
know that answer.
Like Quinn Ewers being number one quarterback now, he's going there. I wonder if did he leapfrog them up. I know he stole a lot of recruits and he got a lot of recruits to change to Texas. That's a question. Go ahead, keep thinking.
And then the top 4, you know, you can figure this out. Ohio State 4, Georgia 3, Alabama 2. And jumping Alabama, the last hour on the 15th was Texas A&M.
You know why? This is going to go into our next 2 conversations of the recruiting. 1 word, 3 letters. Well, not 1 word, but it's an abbreviation. N-L. N-I-L. Right there. Name, image, and likeness.
You know who's missing from that top 10?
Who?
Clemson.
Right.
This is, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year, even when they lost to Georgia. It's the beginning of the end.
You know
for
why,
the
though?
Tigers.
They had recruits that committed. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their defensive
They fell the
coordinator.
whole way down to 17. They were in the top 10
And
all
they,
year.
they hired within. They didn't go after big names. But
And you know, I get, you know, some people why they don't go after big names because I mean, believe me, I was excited about the Manny Diaz hire. I still am.
right.
But he's not going to be there that long. He's going to be there 2 to 3 years, make a name for himself, and he'll take some subpar job like Akron, Youngstown State,
and get
somewhere
back
like that.
I think this name, image, and likeness is changing a lot. I mean, look at Quinn Ewers. Supposed to be coming out this year. He was supposed to be finishing his senior year of high school. Came out a year early, late, came to Ohio State, made $1 million, and now he's going to Texas. This name, image, and likeness is changing a lot. I like it for the players. They deserve it. I do. But I'm worried that college football is going to turn into the NFL real quick.
Oh, it's going to become a farm system. They're going to plant the seeds, put some water on them, they're going to grow. And I mean,
That's the only reason Texas A&M is number 1.
coming back to my boys in Happy Valley, Sean Clifford coming back for year 6 because the COVID year didn't count.
The
kid knows he's not going to get drafted. If he does, it'll be round 6 or 7. It'll be after the last quarterback off the board.
Yep.
Coming back to play one more year.
I think it's the stupidest thing for your program. Drew Aller, I get he's not going to be ready. Maybe.
But I mean, here's the
thing. Put him in the fire and just let him go.
I like it, but I don't. I like it because you don't have to put Aller's feet to the fire and, let him go out there and get killed against, the Buckeyes, the Wolverines, the Spartans, the Badgers, the Boilermakers, the heavyweights in our conference. But with Clifford coming back, he gets to redshirt. He learns the system.
I think Clifford also got screwed. He was banged up this year. I think if
he doesn't get hurt against Iowa, buddy. They're 10-2.
And then he has better stock. So maybe he's betting on himself, saying, do I want to get a...
No running game this year. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher in any game.
That's sad. For Penn State, that's sad. All right, let's finish up this little bit of recruiting. Last one. Jackson State. Deion Sanders. The number 1 player in the nation to flip from Florida State, and he's going to go play at Jackson State. For the kid,
he's betting
on himself.
And
why? Because he wants to go learn from the best cornerback that ever played football.
If it doesn't work out, these kids think I can just hit the transfer portal. Yep. And you know what? He didn't burn all his bridges.
Well, and think about
this. He burnt the one with Florida State because it was I'm coming. National Signing Day, I'm picking up the Jackson State hat.
But I think, and we talked about this before, he might end back up at Florida State.
Oh, he'll end up somewhere down there.
Think about this.
Florida State, Miami.
Deion coaches him for another year or 2 at Jackson State. Florida State still can't figure out their coaching situation. I think the current guy they have is starting to get it back. Deion's going to go to Florida State at one time. That kid's going to follow him. Travis Hunter's going to follow him.
Oh, it's happened so many times. Looking back when McSorley was coming out of high school, going to Vanderbilt. James Franklin's coaching Vanderbilt.
I remember that.
Penn State comes a calling. McSorley hurry up and flips to the Nittany Lions, gets an offer.
That's huge for you guys.
Good college quarterback and not your prototypical quarterback in the pros.
Let's keep the football talk going for college. Let's jump into our bowl predictions. We're going to hammer through a couple of these real quick. Not a lot of talk about each of these small games, and then we're going to get into a couple of games that we each did some research on, and we'll tag team some things out. But all right, rapid fire here. Quick Lane Bowl. Who do you got? Western Michigan, Nevada.
Nevada.
I got Nevada as well. Military Bowl. Boston College, Eastern Carolina.
BC.
You know why I like BC? One name, 2 words. Phil Dracovic. Pine Richland quarterback. I'm glad he's staying for another year because he got hurt this year.
He was supposed to be the number 1 quarterback coming out.
I think he's going to be Big Ben Jr. But I hope we just tank next year and we go get him after the draft. Birmingham Bowl. Houston, Auburn. What do you got?
Took the Cougars, Dave.
So did I. I took the Cougars out of Houston. All right. You know why I did, though? Because Auburn's quarterback hit the transfer portal.
Nick's hit the transfer portal.
That's
Houston
the quarterback.
Going to the Big 12 in a couple years.
I'd love to see Bo Nix become a Pittsburgh Panther next year. Be kind of cool. They should be hitting the transfer. We'll talk about that more later. First Responder Bowl. Air Force versus Louisville.
Went with the Air Force.
So am I. Jeez, we're 4 for 4 here. See if we can change it up. I don't think we will the next one. Liberty Bowl. Texas Tech, Mississippi State.
I mean the Bulldogs, Dave.
Yep, Mississippi State for me too. Holiday Bowl. NC State, UCLA. What do you?
This is one of those bowl games that's fallen off the past.
I agree. Used to have a huge fall.
Too many bowl games.
Too many.
We're going to get into that after this.
What do you got?
I went with the Bruins.
So did I. Jeez.
Shocker.
All right. Guaranteed Rate Bowl. West Virginia, Minnesota.
We're from the tri-state area, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. You think we go with West Virginia? I'm going with my conference. I'm going Golden Gophers today.
So am I. I think West Virginia had a terrible year. Underachieved. Minnesota, quality team. They're back on.
They have a good quarterback in waiting.
Row the boat. Fenway Bowl. Actually played in Fenway Stadium. I'm not against the bowl games in MLB stadiums, but SMU, Virginia.
Give me the SMU Mustangs.
All right. My sister's going to hate me.
Took the Cavaliers.
I took the Cavaliers out of Virginia. I don't trust the SMU Mustangs. I like Virginia. In a football aspect, only in this game. They ever play Virginia Tech? Every year they play Virginia Tech?
Basketball, I'd take the Cavaliers.
Maybe. Probably against SMU, yeah. But big Virginia Tech fan. So, Cheez-It Bowl. Iowa State, Clemson. What do you got?
This is one of those games. I mean, you watch both these teams all year. Iowa State has some good wins. Clemson didn't really play anybody. The 2 or 3 teams they played, they lost to. But I'm gonna bet on Dabo Swinney.
Really?
I'm gonna bet on Dabo Swinney.
My question is,
I think a lot of these younger players that are seeing people leave, players, coaches, they're gonna say, we have something to show, and we're still here.
My issue is this.
Get that 10-win season.
Who's calling the plays? Tony Elliott left. Brett Venables left. I mean, Dabo's good. Give me the Cyclones.
I just don't trust the Big 12, Dave.
I'll take them. This. I think, like we talked about earlier, it's the end of the era for the Clemson Tigers.
It's the beginning of the end.
Yep. Mayo Bowl. Crazy name, but North Carolina, South Carolina. Kind of cool matchup here.
Dude. One of those games you think you'd see every year.
You would think so. What do you got?
I hate doing this. I mean, I like Mac Brown.
Yeah.
I think he's a good coach. He's going to get the Tar Heels, I think, back on track maybe. But
you think South Carolina can win?
With how brutal of a schedule South Carolina has to play. Give me the Gamecocks.
No.
Close one.
Sam Howell, man. Good quarterback out of North Carolina. I mean, I'm a Pitt fan. I am. Think if it didn't rain that day, that's a closer game. North Carolina might snuck that out. Give me the Tar Heels out of North Carolina for that one. All right, Music City Bowl. Tennessee, Purdue. What do you got? I'll give you mine first.
Go ahead.
So I talked with my sister's fiance. Graduated from Purdue. Big Purdue fan. He said he loves sports, so maybe he'll come on once or twice here. You're crazy if you pick Purdue in this matchup. Give me the Volunteers by 2 touchdowns.
This is 2 of those programs, Tennessee, you always expect them to be top of the line, top tier. They haven't been that in a long time.
No.
I struggled with this one. I mean, I closed my eyes and flipped the damn coin.
You're not wrong.
Give me the Boilermakers in my own conference.
Okay. Las Vegas Bowl. I am a personal favorite of just Las Vegas in general. Love going there. I think that's the cool thing about bowl games, destinations for some of these teams. Wisconsin, Arizona State. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. Wisconsin all the way.
Badgers, Dave. Badgers big.
The Texas Slayer Gator Bowl. Another bowl game that I used to thought had more prominence.
Gator Bowl, people have told me it used to be on New Year's Day, one of the bigger bowl games.
Texas A&M Wake Forest. Good matchup. I like Wake Forest.
You're going to take the Deacons like that?
I'm going to take the Demon Deacons.
I mean, they won 10 games this year. They got trounced by Pitt. Bad. If Kenny Pickett doesn't get away with that fake slide, we might be talking about a different outcome.
It was a shootout at first.
That was
changing.
I think the turning point of the 100%. Game. That was the opening touchdown.
Yep.
But I'm going to go with
the Aggies.
Jimbo Fisher and the A&M Aggies.
Texas A&M is a question mark team for me.
I mean, they're the only team that beat Alabama.
But did Nick actually coach? I mean, look how they played Auburn. They looked like they could have lost to Auburn. They come back the next week, crush Georgia. I think Nick doesn't coach in games to not give away his place. That's just my opinion. The Auburn game, though, Jameson Williams doesn't get thrown out for targeting. I think they win. But Sun Bowl, I was shocked that Miami got in this one. That's like, in my opinion, it's
after they started the season, I'm shocked Miami got in anyone.
Well, but that's one of the top ACC bowl affiliates.
I mean, in Miami, they're one of those blue bloods. They're one of those teams and we talked about this earlier. College football is more fun.
Agreed.
When Miami's winning, when Texas is winning, USC, Penn State, when those blue bloods are winning, that we're not used to seeing win all the time now.
So who do you got? Cougars out of Washington State or Miami?
Going Washington State, Dave.
So am I. You know why? Miami doesn't have a coach right now. I mean, they do. But that, in my opinion, this coaching transition time in bowl season is huge. I wish they wouldn't fire coaches till after the bowl's over.
I wish they'd let a coach finish the commitment more they started at the beginning of the year.
Correct.
I mean, the same with Notre Dame. I mean, we'll talk about that game in a little while, but...
I mean, look at NFL. I mean, it's always the Monday after the season's over. The college football season's not over until the bowl games are over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're only firing coaches in the NFL if they're not making the playoffs. They don't have another game to go play.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last one, quick predictions, and we'll get into some of these big ones. All right. Arizona Bowl. We got Boise State, Central Michigan. Who do you got?
Give me the Broncos.
Give me the Boise State Broncos as well. All right. We're going to talk about, 8 games specifically? 1, 2.
Oh, we missed one.
Oh, we missed one?
We missed the Texas Bowl, LSU and Kansas State.
Oh.
I'm taking the Tigers, Dave.
Give me the Tigers. Give me the LSU.
Close one.
All right. So we're going to each talk about 4 bowl games now. We're going to go back and forth.
We have 1.
Well, 4 each.
5.
Oh, you're right. 5 each. Okay. 5 each. So, my first one is Virginia Tech versus Maryland. Virginia Tech, big homer for me. My sister went there. I actually love the atmosphere down there. Great atmosphere in Lane
Never
Stadium.
been. Penn State was supposed to play them 2 years ago. And it didn't
COVID
happen.
year, right?
COVID year.
You know what's crazy about Lane Stadium? I went down. It was my sister's freshman year. They played Miami. Nuts, dude. Absolutely. I've never felt a concrete stadium shake. Man, that stadium shook that day.
I think not Texas A&M. Virginia Tech is a homer for a lot of us our age. Michael Vick, Marcus Vick, NCAA football.
Correct. So, it's a big matchup. They got a new coach in Brett Pry, former DC from Penn State.
That one hurts.
Good guy, but again, it's a transition time. Maryland's averaging 437 yards a game on offense. Nuts. You know how many they're averaging on defense? Giving up 415. But you think about it.
You give and you take.
How many teams are they playing in the Big Ten East that can move the ball? Ohio State probably put up 500 on them. So
and Penn State ended up coming beating them bad.
Right.
Dotson had 3 touchdowns that game.
You know what's crazy about this, though? You got Tua's brother, who was playing in Alabama, hit the transfer portal, went to Maryland. He's having a quality year. Throwing for about 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Not bad. I think the best player on their team, though, is Rakeem Jared. He's a big receiver. He was rumored to go to LSU. He's a hometown kid, I believe, in Louisiana. Went up to Maryland. I don't think he has the stats like he wants to have. He's got about 56 receptions, about almost 800 yards and 5 scores. But he's a big boy. I'm a little worried about Virginia Tech. They don't have a good offense. They're struggling. They rely more on the run than the pass. Braxton Burmeister, average at best quarterback. He's only thrown for about 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. 4 interceptions, not bad. He's pretty conservative. But you can see that they're not putting the ball in his hands. But with both defense, I think Virginia Tech has a better defense. But Maryland's offense can score points. Maryland can't stop the ball. The over-under is 55. Okay? Give me the over in this one. But I'm going to take Maryland. I
actually took Virginia Tech.
Did you?
Virginia Tech was one of those teams for me when I was a kid. NCAA football.
Yeah, you're right.
Always in the top 20,
I think
25.
if they didn't have a coaching transition, I'd take the Hokies. I don't trust them right now. But go on to your game. What do you got next?
So when we were picking games we were going to discuss, I took the Alamo Bowl with 2 teams that I've always been kind of partial to. Number 14, Oregon takes on the number 16, Oklahoma Sooners.
Big game.
Dave, for Oregon, these 2 teams have had a very similar season. The Ducks started out very well. Marquee win, upsetting Ohio State and Columbus early in the season.
Don't get
Getting up to 3rd in the CFP rankings at one point.
But who blew the brakes off
down the stretch, though, the Ducks fell apart, losing in an upset to Stanford.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Then losing to Utah twice in 3-week stretch.
Not even close.
Blowout fashion. And they ultimately ended up losing the Pac-12 title game to the Utes to end the 2021 campaign 10-3.
You know what's shocked about that, though?
They only scored 17 points for Oregon. We're talking games. Oregon. For both games combined, 17 points combined for a team that can score at will.
Quote me if I'm wrong. It's hard to beat a team twice. It is.
It's hard to beat.
But they beat them better the second time around. I think the first game was closer. I think the second game they only scored 7.
Yeah, for
right? Or was
no, vice versa.
Was it? But
10,
still
10,
was a blowout.
7 and 10.
Go ahead, keep going.
Oklahoma, the Sooners had high aspirations into the 2021 season. Their quarterback Spencer Rattler was the runaway Heisman favorite.
Agreed.
I mean, come on, come on. You think this is going to be a 12-1 team playing New Year's Eve against Alabama or Georgia?
They thought so.
Rattler didn't pan out, getting benched midseason for true freshman Caleb Williams, who got the Sooners back on track. Oklahoma ended up finishing the season 10-2, losing to their in-state rival the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and losing to Baylor, which eliminated them from any playoff contention and New Year's Six eligibility. Both these teams lost their head coaches to other programs. Cristobal leaves Oregon for his alma mater, Miami. Riley leaves the Sooners for the sunny state of California and heads to USC.
It's a huge point of this game. Huge point.
The Ducks and Sooners both can't play physical football. They lost to very physical teams.
Yep.
Both these teams can score points and score points at will, and that's why I'm saying the first to 40 points wins. I'm taking the Sooners to take down the Ducks, Dave, 45-35.
So you're taking the over. The over/under 61.
I'm taking the over.
I think the over is very low. I'm surprised it's not in the 70s.
I said 45-35. That's, 80 points?
That's what I'm saying. Like 61 points as an over/under is
these
low.
are two of those teams. If they score less than 30 points a game, you're in shock.
Right.
Especially Oregon. What do you got for this game one?
I got Oklahoma. You know why, though?
Taking the Sooners?
I'm taking the Sooners because they brought in a legendary coach to just coach the bowl game. Bob Stoops came back.
Mm-hmm.
Transition. I bet you. They're going to say Venables is not going to be really there, but he's going to be involved a little bit.
He's going to get them ready to play SEC football in a few years.
Right. I like the Sooners in this one.
Taking the Sooners.
Big shootout. I'd say like 42-35-ish. I agree. First priority, the 40 is going to win the game. Oregon can move the football, but they're also very dimensional.
Remember, they had the best one in the nation until week 12.
But if you watch that game, they ran the same play 3 times and scored. It's just what are you doing?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You're right. All right, let's move to the next one. Pitt, Michigan State. I'm going to be heading down to Atlanta in a couple days.
You're taking a 4-day vacay?
3-day. We're going to leave the day before the game, drive down, spend the night, spend the day of hopefully hitting up a couple things like Coca-Cola Factory and a lot of cool things in Atlanta to see.
Mm.
I haven't been to Atlanta since we went in high school. Remember the band went that one time? We went down and saw it was Virginia Tech, Georgia back then.
Mm.
Big matchup. I got to go on the field with Mr. Killinger and Mr. Tozer back then. Took me on. I was in 5th grade. It was really cool. But huge storyline here. Kenny Pickett opts out. Kenneth Walker opts out. I think it changes the whole aspect of the game. That's the 2 best players in each team.
This is a New Year's Six game. This is one of those games you want to play in.
I want to save the opt-out conversation for after all the bowl season's over because we're recording this, before any of the Christmas week bowls actually happen. I want to see does anybody more opt out. But here's my storylines of this one. Michigan State could not run the ball without Walker. Walker got hurt coming into the Ohio State game. He was banged up. They tried to play him.
Ohio State beat him bad.
Oh, but because they couldn't run the ball. That was their
42.
Oh, it was insane. I spent way too much money on those tickets to watch a blowout. But what's their number 2? It used to be Cam Hayward's brother Casey. But they bulked him to play tight end. So I'm worried for them. I don't know if they can run the ball. Pitt's up front. Their front 7's not bad. Even though they're not as highly.
Well, this is going to be a pass-heavy game.
I think it is.
Each quarterback might throw the ball 50 times, and
that
might be low.
Who's going to have a big game? Jordan Allison, Pitt's receiver. I pulled up his stats. 94 receptions in a college season is insane. You're only playing. They play 13 games. You get 94 in a 17-game season in the NFL, not 13. 94 receptions. Just under 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns he had.
He's Kenny Pickett's security blanket.
He's only a sophomore, I think. So he's got one more year at least. He's got to play another season. I think it's going to be different without Kenny playing, throwing the ball to him. But Michigan State gives up 455 yards per game. 337 of those are in the air. I think I could throw for 200 yards on Michigan State's defense. At least. I mean, they're that bad. If you get Jordan Allison who can just get open, all that backup's got to do is hit him.
See, I know what you're talking about. See, Penn State played them Saturday Thanksgiving weekend, and it was snowing in East Lansing, and it was snowing hard. The Penn State offense didn't find really a lot of traction. They ended up scoring 27 points and losing the game by 3.
Right.
But this is going to be in a dome, so the ball is going to be...
It's going to be flying all over the place.
All over the yard.
I think this game depends on Pitt's backup quarterback. In my opinion, he can produce and just be a game manager. Okay? If he can do that, hit Jordan Allison when he's open, take advantage of some things, give me Pitt. But I will say, if you're a betting person and you're listening to this podcast, like I am, I'm not touching this. I'm not touching this game with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, absolutely not.
The line is -2.5 to Michigan State. The over/under is 56.5. You have no idea what's going to happen in this one. Kenneth Walker's out.
You might see a 13-10 slugfest. You know,
you could. I mean, it's too unpredictable. I'm going to take Pitt because I think Michigan State's very overrated. You know, their quarterback Peyton Thorne, average, under 3,000 yards passing this year. He struggled. Give me Pitt. What do you got?
You know, I have Pitt highlighted on my paper here. Kenny Pickett off and out does change some for me. I'm still going to go with Pittsburgh, and it hurts me to say that as a Penn State fan.
Pitt's going to get 12 wins?
You know, Pitt's going to get the 12 wins. And like when we were talking about recruiting, if they can win this game,
it's huge.
Without their quarterback, who's going to arguably be the first one off the board.
Hopefully a Pittsburgh Steeler. I don't know.
Hopefully the Pittsburgh Steeler. Hopefully. I like Kenny Pickett a lot. If they can, this might get them back on track recruiting-wise.
I hope so.
It might get them back on track for going back to the ACC title game. But we'll have to see. Give me the Panthers. The close one.
Let's delve down into the playoff. I'm still salty.
I have the Outback Bowl still.
Oh, I'll do the Outback Bowl. That's fine.
We do the Outback Bowl?
Yeah, then we'll get into the playoffs after.
And then I have you have the Rose, and I have the Sugar still. And I have the Fiesta.
Yeah, what do you want to say? The playoff for last?
Let's save the playoff for last.
All right. I still don't want to talk about it, but we go ahead. Go to the Outback Bowl.
This is our first show. We run over, make it an hour and a half. We make it an hour.
All right. Go to the Outback Bowl.
All right, the Outback Bowl. Penn State takes on number 21, the Arkansas Razorbacks.
You know what's crazy? I can't believe Arkansas is ranked 21st.
You know what? I can't believe Penn State's playing in a bowl game, not a bowl game, a New Year's Day game at 7-5. Usually, the lowest, most lost team you see is like 3 losses on New Year's Day.
5 letters. Brand.
Oh, absolutely.
Miami.
They travel
Brand.
well.
Brand.
And like the Outback Bowl, that's one of those bowls that's like your closest game, like one of your closer games to New Year's 6.
Yep.
You know, along with the other couple games we've talked about. Penn State started off the season red hot after a sloppy 2020 campaign. The Lions started 5-0 in their 2021 season with big victories over Wisconsin on the road, and Auburn and hopes were set high early in the season for the Nittany Lions. Then injuries started taking a toll on the Lions against Iowa, and then the Lions would go on to lose that game by 3, losing Clifford in mid-second quarter. And they'd lose 4 more games the rest of the season, which finished them at 7-5. The Lions had one of the most outstanding defenses, not only in the Big Ten, but in the country this year. 2021 is which what kept them out of most games. Penn State struggled all year to find the ground attack and relied heavily on Sean Clifford in the passing game and senior receiver Jahan Dotson.
He's good.
First-round pick.
You think he's better than Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave?
I think he's better than Olave. I don't think he's better than Wilson.
There's another kid out there, toward We'll talk more when we get toward draft time. But go ahead.
Arkansas. The Razorbacks were a surprise team in 2021, led by receiver Traylon Burks, who has opted out of the game. The back started the season with a few solid wins versus Texas A&M. But Arkansas stumbled and ran into much tougher SEC opponents and suffered 4 losses to in-conference games, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. And that took them well out of New Year's Six eligibility, which landed them in the Outback Bowl on New Year's Day.
It's crazy.
No opt-outs besides Brandon Smith, the middle linebacker, at this point. But keep Jahan Dotson and Jaquan Briscoe are two names to keep an eye on for the Lions. Arkansas's Burks has already opted out, which is their best player. Both these teams play stingy defense. I look for this to be a medium to low-scoring affair. I'm taking... Oh, this is a killer, Dave. I'm taking the Backs in a close one, 27-21.
Are you really?
New Year's Day, Backs taking down Penn State.
I had to do it too. I took Arkansas. Like you said, and we talked about this earlier. Clifford doesn't get hurt in that Iowa game.
They're 10-2, buddy.
I think it's a different story. If Jahan Dotson plays, which I don't think he will.
I don't think him or Brisker will play. They're both going to be, they're saying first or second round picks.
If he would play, you'd win the game. I think Arkansas is overrated. I think it's the SEC bias.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take Arkansas.
And, I'm not big on the SEC either, The only team from the SEC I think is consistent is Alabama.
Yep, 100%. All right, so you talk about your game. Let's go to the Rose Bowl. Ohio State, Utah. I was really close to going to this game. I never told you this story yet. Pre-pandemic, they had this big band director thing about this is the year of the band director float. They're going to make a float for the band directors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it was supposed to be last year, I believe. And with COVID it canceled, they moved it to this year. When they started moving around the day, right when COVID hit, I opted out of it. I had a spot. I opted out.
You opted out.
I could be in frickin' Pasadena, marching in this parade, and that against
a couple weeks, New Year's Day.
Against with my Ohio State band there, but I'm not going. But it was a lot of money, hard to rationalize going, and I didn't know a lot of people, so I had to stay by myself, and it's even more money with the room. And anyway, this game worries me as an Ohio State fan. Worries me.
Oh, I know. I understand why.
We can't stop the run. They ran the ball down Oregon's throats twice. And they stopped Oregon's offense.
And you know what? Utah can throw the ball as well.
They can. Here's what's crazy. They average about, I want to say it's 400 yards or so offense a game.
They're a balanced team. They're like what?
216. I'm gonna look this up as we're talking about this. 216, I believe, on the ground, and 200 and so in the air. Let's see. What does ESPN say? 428 total offensive yards per game. 212 in the air, 216 on the ground. That's a balanced attack.
You can't get any more balance than that
No.
in college football. You can't.
No. So worries.
This is Utah's first trip to the Rose Bowl. Shocking enough.
Yep.
So they are hyped.
Yep.
To say the least.
Yep.
What's your
However,
pick?
well, let's talk about it first. C.J. Stroud, number 4 Heisman finalist. I think he got screwed. But you asked me about this in week 3. I said C.J. Stroud sucked. I think he is a product of the talent around him.
We're going to find out next year, won't we?
We are. You got Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. You got a lot of talent behind Jackson, though. I will say that. But you know what's sad? The number 3 receiver that was supposed to be with that crew, his name's Jamison Williams. Where's he playing?
Alabama. He's your best player.
He was just a deep threat. And that's
He's
what
the best
showed.
offensive player
At Alabama.
that?
Yes, 100%. I think this is big. I think CJ will have a decent game because we have some talent around him still. But what's Olave and Wilson going to do? Last year at this time, everybody thought Olave was going to the draft. He came back for his senior season. I thought he was stupid because he had a huge year last year, even in the COVID year. Wilson didn't have it. Wilson had a huge year this year. Olave doesn't have the big year. I see Olave playing in this game. I don't see Wilson playing in this game.
I'm with you. I think Wilson knows he's going to be a first-round selection. I think Olave doesn't know yet. They're saying he might even slip, maybe one of the later receivers in the first round, maybe beginning of the second round.
I think he bet on himself, and it kind of backfired for him. I think he did. But
you have a young quarterback. Stroud's what, a sophomore?
Redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman.
Like, why? Like, he bet on himself a lot because he was playing with Justin Fields. Fields leaves. I don't know. I'm worried about our ability to stop the run. I really am. But their defense in Utah has only given up 13 points once since November. Once more than 13.
Are we talking prior Thanksgiving? We talking
November 1st. Arizona, they have 29 points too. They shut down Oregon's offense twice. 7 points to 10 points. I think Travion Henderson, is going to have a big game, our running back.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the under 66. I don't think a single team scores 35. I think it's going to be like 28, 24. But give me Utah plus 6.5. Ohio State wins by 4.
Ooh.
I just think we're tipped
After
off.
all your worry.
You know why, though? When's our last game that we lost to? We lost to that frickin' team up north. And I'll make this podcast aware right now. I won't say that word. I just can't. I won't say it, but anytime we're going to reference some school, I will call them the team up north. First time we lost to them in too many years, we're still ticked off about it. The last time we lost to Clemson, when Justin Fields was his first year,
that was the comeback game, right?
The first time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and guess
Barrett was the 31-0 game.
Right. But we lost when Olave ran the wrong route in the end zone. If he runs the right route, he catches the ball. We beat Clemson in Fields' first year. We go play LSU. That fueled them. I think this loss against Michigan will fuel our defense a little bit. All of our defensive players are coming and playing. The only two question marks are Olave and Wilson. 28-24 Ohio State.
Oof. We're talking about how balanced Utah is. We watched them a couple times this year. We saw them twice against Oregon, shut down. Like we both said, a team that can score points at will. Mm-hmm. Shutting down that heavy of an offense. Give me the Utes.
Okay.
In a lower scoring affair, like you said, I'm going to say like 24, 21, 28, 27, something like that.
I think it's under 30, both teams.
Close.
Yep.
Very close. In the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Give me the Utes.
I almost thought about road tripping out there, but I'm not. So, all right. Take us to Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta Bowl, good call.
Take us to Fiesta Bowl.
So the Fiesta Bowl. Number 5, Notre Dame versus number 9, Oklahoma State. This is on New Year's Day.
Night game?
No, I think it's the early game. Rose Bowl at 5. Sugar Bowl is always at 8:45.
You're right. They're playing this one at 1 o'clock. Jeez. All right.
So the Fighting Irish had a slow start to the season, but found their footing on offense later in the year. Notre Dame suffered one loss during the season to number 4 Cincinnati. The Irish has an outstanding defense and can force turnovers. Marcus Freeman's new coach. They did suffer that blow with Brian Kelly departure to LSU. Defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman, like I said, was promoted and hired as head coach, which is what the players wanted. So the Irish have a lot to prove New Year's Day against the Pokes. They're playing for Marcus Freeman. Oklahoma State, the Cowboys have playoff aspirations going into the Big 12 championship game, but seeing them stop 1 yard short against the Baylor Bears.
Not even a yard. That was close.
The Pokes had a solid year, finishing 11-1. Oklahoma State's defense is a very, very good for a Big 12 defense. Can force turnovers and capitalize off those turnovers. They have some weapons on offense. Notable names to watch is running back Jalen Warren and receiver Tay Martin. Mm-hmm. They make a huge impact in this game. The pick. I like both teams' defenses a lot.
Okay.
But I think the Irish are trying to prove a point for new head coach Marcus Freeman. And the offense makes just enough plays to win. I like the Irish in a defensive slugfest, 24-17 Irish.
I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think you're right. They're going to play for Marcus Freeman. I think they're ticked off at Brian Kelly the way he left. I think...
And we talked about this, how it's unfair how coaches depart, and they
Correct.
say, you're not coaching your team.
I think that was the smartest thing that they did hiring Marcus Freeman.
Absolutely.
Because of the climate. Do I think that's the best coach for them? No. I think Luke Fickell should have went there, but he didn't want to leave Cincinnati. In this whole environment, I think if they handled this after the playoff, Luke Fickell's coaching at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman's going to become the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. But give me Oklahoma State.
You're taking the Pokes.
I'm going to take them. Here's why. I don't trust Notre Dame after this whole carousel. I don't. I think they're a very overrated team.
I think they're overrated as well. I mean, they struggle with Florida State.
Think about this. Their team last year was better. 100% better. Creamed by Alabama. I'm glad they didn't sneak in because they would have got crushed again.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Oklahoma State. All right, I'm going to go to my next one. I got Iowa and Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl. So, Will Levis, former Penn State quarterback, back up to Son Clifford. I think he's having a better year than Clifford is.
Oh, he did. And you remember a few years ago, Clifford got hurt against Ohio State.
They brought Levis in.
Levis came in.
Yep.
And they had the Buckeyes on the brink and ended up losing by 11.
I agree. All right, so he's having a great year. 2,600 yards almost, 23 scores, 12 interceptions, a little
on the high side, but
Wan'Dale Robinson, receiver talent out of Kentucky. I don't know what grade he's in. What grade, what year? 94 receptions, 1,000, and it's 100, like 1,200 yards, 7 scores, 94 receptions.
We were talking about this with Addison too, out of
That's a
Pittsburgh.
lot.
Almost 100 catches in the college season. That's really good, and especially against tougher opponents in the SEC.
Right, that's a lot, dude. I expect a low-scoring game. Iowa is horrendous offensively.
They can't score points.
They can't score points.
They rely on the defense and running game, which is, old Big Ten style play. We're talking 20 years ago almost.
Right.
When we were younger. But the Big Ten now is pass heavy.
But you know what's crazy,
The only running team that actually consistently wins 8 to 10 games a year in the Big Ten is Michigan.
You know what's crazy? We say they can't score points. Lately, before the Michigan game, that team up north, wow, I did it. Ugh. They've been scoring okay. 28 against Nebraska, bad team. 33 against Illinois, bad team. 27 against Minnesota. But then you get back into their other ones. I mean, Northwestern they struggled with. Wisconsin, they lost by 20. Purdue beat them by 17. Give me Kentucky in this.
You're taking the Wildcats.
I'm going to say the Wildcats. They're going to cover. They're a 3-point favorite. I think they win by 7. The over-under is 44. Too hard to predict. Because what can Iowa do offensively? Both teams are too inconsistent. I mean, Kentucky won 9 games.
I mean, they play in the best conference.
They play in the best conference. Give me Kentucky. But don't touch the over-under.
I'm not touching the over-under or the spread.
No. Give me Kentucky. What do you got?
I'm taking the Wildcats. Like we talked about, Iowa. They're always one of those teams that's a thorn in someone's side in the Big Ten.
Yep.
They took down Penn State, pretty much derailed their whole year. Give me the Wildcats. I think the SEC firepower is too much for Iowa to rely on the run game.
Agreed.
And, playing heavily defense. Give me the Wildcats, Dave.
All right. Last New Year's Six Bowl, and then we'll talk about the playoff. Let's make this one a little quick because we're almost an hour now.
Oh God.
Baylor, Ole Miss. What do you got?
I took the Bears. I took the Rebels, Dave. I'm gonna cut it short. I'm gonna take the Rebels. They play in the better conference. They have the better defense. They have the better playmakers on both sides of the ball. Though the Big 12 matches up usually well with the SEC.
Yep.
I'm rolling with the Rebels in a blowout, Dave. 41-17.
Blowout.
Well, I'm assuming Corral is playing.
If he doesn't play, that changes.
If he doesn't play, it's a very close game. But I'm still going to go with the Rebels in that case.
I'm going to take Ole Miss too. Nick Saban coaching rehab center. Lane Kiffin comes back to Nick, changes him. Now he's having a heck of a year.
This is only his second year, and
heck of a
he
year
goes 10-2, and They played close against Alabama, then they ended up pulling away, and then they lose a close one to Auburn.
You know what Lane could hope for? Matt comes back for another year. Why?
I mean, you can hope. I mean, he's probably the second or third quarterback taken off the board this year in the draft.
Because guess who's going to play for Ole Miss after 2023? Arch Manning. I think he's going to go to Ole Miss. But
you think he's going to take Ole Miss after Eli?
We'll talk more about that later on. All right, let's get into the playoff. I'm going to start with number 1, Alabama versus number 4, Cincinnati.
Kind of cool you got an Ohio team to talk about in the playoff. It's not yours.
I do. I'm excited for Cincinnati. Not excited they're playing Alabama, though. I think if they're playing Georgia, closer game.
Oh, absolutely.
Bryce Young, I was optimistic about him. I thought he was overrated at the beginning. I think he's also a product of his environment. I think Kenny Pickett's a better quarterback. I think Sam Howell's a better quarterback than him.
I mean, we were texting during the Heisman show the other night. You can plug and play any quarterback in Alabama, and they're going to
100%.
win 10 to 12 games.
Right.
It's just a fact.
I think he's gotten better because of the talent around him.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you look at Mac Jones. You look at Jalen Hurts. You look
Nick
at
Saban won a national championship with Jake Coker.
Right.
Let that set in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a heck of a year. 43 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I really want to know if Auburn actually could have moved the football. They could have won that game. I don't see Cincinnati staying within 10 points of them. I think Desmond Ridder is a decent quarterback. He's got a lot to prove to increase his draft stock. I mean, he's thrown for 3,200 yards, 30 scores, 8 interceptions. Jamison Williams is a person I expect to have a huge game here. Taking the top off the defense. Give me Alabama by 14.
Ooh.
I think the line's like minus 13.5. Give me Alabama by 14.
You know, they were saying on SportsCenter the other day they're expecting that line to jump up to even a little bit more right before game time.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm going to roll with Alabama as well. I actually think this is going to be a game going into halftime.
I think it'll be close for
I think it's going to be close at halftime, but let's go back years, Dave. When this first came out, this was going to be a 4-team playoff system.
Mm-hmm.
We talked and said it was a broken system.
100%.
Because teams like Cincinnati now, Boise State in the early 2000s, TCU in the early 2010s, before joining the Big 12 would never get a shot.
I'm glad that Cincinnati's getting a shot.
This is their shot. Cincinnati's one thing they can't let happen. You can't let it be a blowout.
I think it's going to be
A major blowout. I'm talking more than 21.
I think it's going to be a blowout.
I'm taking the Tide. Anytime you give Nick Saban time to prepare, you lose.
Yep.
Give me the Tide, 35-21 by 14.
35-21. That's not bad. I mean,
I think it's going to be 21-14 at halftime.
Yeah.
And I think Alabama's just going to come out, score 2 quick touchdowns, and play defense the rest of the game.
they'll get into a game managing mode because they're not going to want to show a lot.
Oh, no, they're going to rely on their running game that they really don't have this year.
I know.
Shocker.
All right. Go to the other playoff game. The night
Orange.
one, which I'm shocked.
The Orange Bowl, Dave. And I'm shocked this is the night game, too, but it's the better out of the 2 games.
I agree.
So they want this one to be the one people are watching when they're drunk, waiting for the ball to drop.
I like this on New Year's Eve. I do.
I do. I like all the games on New Year's Eve because that means we don't have to get them to go to work the next day.
Amen.
So in the Orange Bowl, number 2 Michigan takes on the number 3 Georgia
It's
Bulldogs.
disgusting to think about.
Well, Michigan finally reached the top of the mountain by beating Ohio State
I'm going to throw up.
and
right now.
wrapping up the season with a Big Ten title. Michigan did struggle on the road at times over their 2021 campaign against Penn State on the road.
Close game.
Wisconsin on the road. Nebraska on the road. And suffered their first loss from it when they dominated the whole game against Michigan State and came up just short.
Do you think that game's at the Horseshoe? Think Ohio State wins?
Against Michigan?
Yeah,
No, but I think it's a little bit closer.
I agree. I think
I think it's
home field
closer.
home field atmosphere blew that game out a little bit.
Michigan is a run-heavy team and relies heavily on the ground game to open up their passing attack. Michigan has had a stout defense all season, led by star defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, who finished second in the Heisman race. Michigan is going to pose a threat to the Dogs in their semifinal game on New Year's Eve. Georgia. The Dogs are the most dominant team through the 2021 season, by far the favorite to win the national championship. Georgia has had an outstanding defense with NFL talent all over the place. Georgia has a run-heavy offense with two dual-threat running backs. And tight end Brock Bauer, who has a true freshman racked up 791 yards and 11 scores. The Bulldogs face one problem on offense. Can you guess it?
They don't have a quarterback.
Stetson Bennett didn't look his greatest against Alabama in the SEC title game and ended up getting blown out in the process.
What happened? Do you remember?
They started turning the ball over.
But no, he wasn't the quarterback coming out of preseason.
No, it was that guy from USC. It wasn't him.
Right. Did he get hurt?
I think he got hurt, and then they played Bennett, and then they just kept rolling.
And, I mean, you look at Bennett's stats, I don't know. He's only thrown for 2,300 yards. Average.
This might be the best game out of the New Year's 6 games. Really, I could flip a coin with this game. Wouldn't be shocked either way.
Defensive battle.
I'm going to take Georgia in a nail-biter. I just like the Dogs' defense against the run game of Michigan. Michigan's passing game and Cade McNamara, because he can't win a game by himself. He only threw for a handful of touchdowns all year.
15.
With the running game being as dominant, the Bulldogs sandwich game, close one, Dave, 28-23.
All right, so I'm looking at the line here.
I hit the under, didn't I?
What'd you say? 28-23? No.
I hit the over.
You hit the over. The over-under is 45.
Wow, I hit it then.
I think I would take the over in this one. They're giving Georgia is an 8-point favorite.
Was it the line 7.5 right now, or move up to 8?
It's 8.
You moved up to 8?
It's 8 right now. I can't believe I'm going to do this. I don't trust Georgia, dude. I mean, you look at some of their lines. I mean, they lost by 17 to Alabama. Alabama made them look like a stepchild.
When Alabama went up 14-10,
it was over.
That game was over.
Yep. I mean, you got them. They beat Georgia Tech by 45. Georgia Tech's terrible. I hate they play a friggin' cupcake of Charleston Southern. They beat the brakes off of them. Tennessee kept it close for a little bit.
The halftime, I think that was close.
The final score was 41-17. I mean, the lowest they've scored has been the Alabama game, 24 points, other than their game against Clemson. I don't trust them. I don't trust them offensively. I think that team of North's style is to stop the run. They're going to stop the run. They're going to shut down their running attack.
To me personally, I think Michigan's only chances if they can come out passing.
They got to throw the ball.
10 to 14 points really quick. Is Georgia's not meant to come back?
No. Give me that team up north.
Close one.
Give me them. I'm saying like 24-21. Like the over-under is a question mark for me at 45. If it fluctuates and it goes a little higher, I'm taking the under. But I would bet on that team up north plus 8. I really would. I don't think Georgia wins by more than 8 if they do. But I'd pick that team up north outright. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. So, all right. There's our college football picks, the whole bowl season. Some of the big talk we want to talk about, but let's switch the gears up as we're getting over the hour mark here. NFL preview. We picked a couple games for December 26th game. So we're recording this before Christmas happens. We don't know about this whole COVID outbreak that's happening. God forbid continues on. It perspires more. What games are we picking here?
All right, I have San Francisco, Tennessee on this slate. I think that's on Thursday.
Supposed to be, yep. What do you got?
But both these teams are making a playoff push. Tennessee's soundly in control of their division.
Do you think 49ers can sneak in?
I do. I think if the playoffs started today, and you can look at it, San Francisco is just in or on the outside looking in.
This is prior to the week before.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this one. This is prior because we don't want to record this the week of Christmas. San Francisco is in. They're the 6th seed. I think they could sneak in because the NFC is average again.
I mean, you have your top 3-4 teams that are good. I mean, you have Tampa Bay and
your top 5 are 9-4 and above. You got Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Arizona, Dallas, Rams, then 49ers and Redskins would follow. Football team. Sorry. I don't know.
I'm taking the 49ers here, Dave.
Are you?
I like their playmakers. Tennessee still won't have Henry until week 17 or 18, they're saying. I like Deebo Samuel. I like Brandon Ayuk. And, of course, George Kittle. Low-scoring game, 23-17. Niners.
I like the Niners, too. You look at the Tennessee's last couple games. We go all the way back to the 1st of November. They beat the Rams. This is one of their first games that he didn't play. Derrick Henry didn't play. They beat the Rams. They snuck one out. They snuck one out against the Saints. And they lost to the Texans, the Patriots, 2 games in a row. They got crushed by the Patriots. And they only beat the Jaguars. I mean, the Jaguars are garbage.
Me and you and 9 other guys can go beat the Jaguars right now.
I agree. Give me the 49ers. Close. Give me the 49ers. All right, what do you got next?
I have Cleveland at Green Bay on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, I like this matchup.
Well, I had to pick it. This is for our Christmas week show.
I like this matchup.
2 teams, Green Bay solidly in playoff position, maybe even on track for the number 1 seed.
What's questionable to me is the COVID aspect of the Browns. They have too many players out this week before this matchup. Do they all get back? Do they not get back? What's going to happen? What do you got? You got Packers here?
Christmas Day in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Give me the Packers all day.
Yep.
Cleveland still has players out with COVID protocols. Green Bay, 34-21.
That's what I got this one at. I think they might slow down a little bit. If Denzel Ward's playing in this game, Devontae Adams might get slowed down a little bit. But
remember, Aaron Rodgers is in agreement with the organization. He is going to be cut or traded at the end of this season.
Is that actually the agreement now?
I've heard that was the agreement at the beginning of the season. This was his last year, supposedly.
Where do you think he's going to end up?
There's
rumor
has it he wants to play in Pittsburgh. I'm not getting my hopes
That'd be
upset
cool.
for that.
That'd be cool. I'd buy an Aaron Rodgers jersey.
You know where I'm thinking? Vegas cuts ties with Carr. Gets Gruden's boy out of there. He goes home and plays, not in his home state anymore, but on the West Coast.
All right.
Closer to California.
But you got the Packers? I got the Packers.
I got the Packers.
All right, next one.
I have the Ravens at the Bengals.
Ravens-Bengals. Big NFC matchup here. Or NFC. Jeez, AFC North.
Baltimore is depleted. Jackson doesn't have a solid running game he's used to. Cincinnati's playing well at the right time in late December. Cincinnati makes enough plays and squeaks out the win. And AFC North smash mouth football takes a step closer to that division title for the Bengals.
I agree.
Cincinnati, 21-14.
Ravens are coming down. They're on a downward stretch. The Bengals are going up.
Well, we're starting to figure it out. That's the problem.
Joe Burrow's having a heck of a year. But you know who's carrying him and making him better? Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's having a heck of a year.
You know what? He's probably the most underrated player.
I'm glad I have him on my fantasy
in the
team.
AFC North, and I have him on mine as well.
It's going to be a huge game for me because that will be my semifinal matchup, God willing, if I win my quarterfinal. And I need him to have a big game. So I'll take the Bengals here too. All right, what do you got next?
Los Angeles Rams at the Minnesota Vikings.
Another 1 o'clock game. Okay.
Another 1 o'clock game.
Why'd you pick this one?
Why did I pick this one? Minnesota is still in playoff position. They can still get in there. They have some winnable games left.
That win against the Steelers was huge.
That Thursday night win against Pittsburgh was huge for them. Dave, they lost 7 one-score games this year. Every game's been a one-score game.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
They're not a bad football team at all. They just caught some bad breaks and suffered some minor injuries. but I'm going to take the Rams. They loaded up.
I like
Vaughn
the Rams.
Miller,
They're going for it.
Odell
Stafford's
Beckham Jr.
a great quarterback.
Stafford's in MVP talks. Might even be the front runner when all is said and done.
Yep.
Give me the Rams after they just upset the Cardinals 31-21 over the Vikes.
I like the Rams too in this one. I think they've gone all in. That Henderson kid, great running back. He's been battling some injuries. I think Dalvin Cook will run a lot on this game. But, I looked at this matchup. This was pre my fantasy football draft, okay? I looked at this matchup. If you did a lot of research when you were drafting, this was supposed to be your semifinal week in fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Jalen Ramsey guarding either Justin Jefferson or Thielen. If he comes back, he's got an ankle injury. I think they shut down Minnesota. Give me the Rams.
How about this last one? Buffalo at New England. How about Bill Belichick?
Man.
Making this young team winners this fast.
The Bills, though,
Matt Jones has been the best rookie quarterback to this point out of this draft class.
He's been put around a lot of talent.
They brought in some free agents. They brought in Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne to help Jones, but New England is looking to take the crown back from the AFC in the AFC East. The Bills are still little brother. They haven't lived up to the hype this season, being the Super Bowl favorites everyone thought they'd be. This is still a young, talented Buffalo Bills team now. And then if they get in, you're not going to want to play them in January. Josh Allen can still win a game.
The home field aspect is huge for them. They got to get home field advantage. Not that they're going to if they get in.
Bills have their backs against this wall in this one. I like the Bills in a close revenge game of their rival. Bills in a close one, 24-20. Bills over the Patriots.
I think the weather plays a huge aspect in this game. I mean,
the game's at Foxborough, so it could.
Did you watch the last one they played? I mean, that was nuts. The wind was nuts. I mean, and Josh Allen did pretty well for throwing it into that wind. I mean, Mac Jones threw the ball twice.
No, three times.
Three? Was it three? Okay.
Two. I think it was for 13 yards.
I don't know. The Bills they're crazy in my opinion. I mean, we're recording this on Saturday the 18th. So this is before the Sunday games of the 19th. Let's run down the Bills' schedule real quick. Lost to the Steelers. It's one huge loss. I don't know how they pulled that game out week 1. Blew out the Dolphins. Blew out the football team.
This is when they started getting back on track.
Blew out the Texans. Blew out the Chiefs. They beat them by 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Was that at Arrowhead?
That was at Arrowhead.
That's huge.
Titans came in and beat them with Derrick Henry, but it was only a 3-point game. They beat the Bills. And then, man, Urban Meyer went and beat them 9-6. 9-6. Rest in peace to Urban Meyer's NFL career. We'll talk about him later on. Beat the Jets. Got crushed by the Colts. I think that was the game that Jonathan Taylor had a huge game. Crushed. And then they beat the Saints. And then they lost the Patriots.
That Saints game, that was Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, they beat them bad.
Was it 31-6?
31-6. Lost to a close game to the Buccaneers in overtime. I think they could have beat them in regulation. They didn't. I don't know. Give me the Bills. But they got a decent stretch coming down the stretch. They should beat
games.
They should beat the Panthers.
Should beat.
Hopefully they do.
Is McCaffrey out for the year?
Yeah.
They should have that game then.
They got the Patriots in the one we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that takes them to 9-6. You got the Falcons after that, 10-6. I think they finish 11-6. They play the Jets at the end.
Do they?
I think that puts them in the conversation.
That'll probably get around that 6 seed mark, maybe 5-6.
I don't know though. So
the Chargers lost another game. They're down to.
We're recording this today, right?
We're recording this today.
Patriots got to play the Colts tonight. I think the Colts beat them because they're playing in Indianapolis. I think Jonathan Taylor runs all over.
Carson Wentz is in the talks for comeback player of the year.
But you know what though, with Baker,
22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
All right, let's ask this question today. Baker's out with COVID. I got Carson Wentz. I had Baker. I dropped him from Justin Fields. Who do I start today? Justin Fields or Carson Wentz?
Who are the Bears playing?
The Bears are playing...
Playing the Packers?
No. The Vikings. Monday night. I'm starting Fields.
I'd go the other way.
You would start Wentz against New England's defense? They've been shutting down teams.
At home, he's in a dome.
I know. I'm going against this.
Back.
I'm going against this. I don't know. But so you look at that matchup for the Patriots. I think they lose today. So they go to 9-5. They lose to the Bills next week. They go to 9-6. Then they've got the Jaguars. They'll go to 10-6. They got the Dolphins 11-6.
Miami's surging though lately. Miami's making a push for that 7 mark, but
all right, but you got 11-6 team of the Bills if this scenario works, and you got 11-6 team of the Patriots. I don't know who takes the tiebreaker.
They beat the Bills, wouldn't it?
They split. What is the tiebreaker? Is it an AFC? I don't know. We'll have to talk about that as we get closer. But I think the only way the Bills do well is if they get a home game.
There's a simulator you can run on ESPN.com.
Is there?
And pick the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, every game.
Okay.
And I think I would have it as the Bills would be the 4 seed.
All right.
I think.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, it's.
We're still
today.
There's still 4 games left.
Today, with 4 games left, they are the 7. They're sitting right at the edge.
Indy's behind them.
No, Indy's ahead of them. They're 6.
Oh.
Indy's in. The Browns are 8.
Indy beat them head to head.
Yeah, the Browns are 8. The Bengals are 9. Steelers sitting at 11. I think the Steelers sneak in. They go 3-1 down the stretch. They're going to beat the Titans this week. They're going to lose the Chiefs. They'll beat the Browns, beat the Ravens. They'll go in at, 9-7-1. They're in at like the 7th seed. They'll lose, but they'll get in the playoffs. Ben will have his last final moment. They won't play at home. So I don't think they win the division at 9-7-1. I think that division goes to the Bengals at the end.
9-7-1. I mean,
should be 10-6. I think they win the division.
It's gonna be fringe if they get in the playoff. It's gonna be really, really close. But this year in the AFC, I don't think 9-7-1 does it. You still have the Chargers that are still good.
I don't know,
the Bills. You have the Colts.
You know what's sad?
You still have the Browns and the Ravens, even though the Ravens are falling off.
9-7-1. If that finishes for the Steelers,
Miami is surging at the right time.
They should be 10-7 for the God's sake against the Lions, and I think they could have beat the Vikings if they actually prepped.
They didn't lose the game against the Lions, but that is the signature.
They lost
Mike.
They lost the game against the Lions. Yep. I don't know.
Pittsburgh fans don't want to hear that. That we even have a label for it. That is a Mike Tomlin game.
100%.
They're favored to win by 10. They tie the game or lose.
I agree. All right, so let's wrap up this real quick. It's been an hour and 20 now. Jeez, we're not going to hopefully get this long, but Brennan and I like to talk a lot. Real quick, I'm going to highlight real quick. This is coming out the day after Christmas. If you're a big high school person, go see some of the Christmas tournaments. One of my favorites is go back to our alma mater and watch the Christmas tournament with Charlotte.
Day after Christmas, every
They
year.
always got a bunch of Mon Valley teams in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
a couple years Steel Valley played, and I don't think they've invited them back since.
No,
they wanted to.
They crushed them. I don't know who's really in this one. I know the first day, and don't quote me on this. I want to say it's either they start on the 27th, they start on the 28th.
Days after Christmas.
Cal plays Charleroi first game. I'm going to go to that one.
Who are you rooting for?
I don't think Cal wins it. Cal's horrible on offense. We can't score.
Cal hasn't been good since we were in high school. Really.
No, they were good. A couple last year, they made playoffs.
No, I'm talking like winning like the section.
No. Last year, Frazier had a heck of a year in the section. Cal had a couple of decent players. Nato Savage is playing at Carlisle. But Charleroi, Will Wagner, dude, he's playing well. So if you have a chance, go check out some Christmas tournaments. We'll be back. This will be airing on the day after Christmas. We haven't talked about what we're going to do, if we're going to wait till right after New Year's and do one. We got to figure out our schedules. But we hope you enjoy. This is officially episode number 2. Episode number 1 is our pre-episode, but we'll count it number 1. This is number 2. We hope you enjoyed. It's been a long one. Hope you made it this far. And if you've made it this far, message me. I'll give you a hint of something. If you made it this far, what do the Steelers do? I want to hear your predictions on our Facebook page. Did they make the playoffs or not? But like us on Facebook, Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Hopefully this one's on Apple Podcasts by now. Limitless Sports with Brendan and Dave. We want to make this actually hit hard, and we want to make this hit home, and give us some shout-outs. We'll put out some more content as we go through, but ciao for now, right?
Merry Christmas and
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
Holidays, Dave.
Amen. See you later. Goodbye.